Good evening, everybody. Tonight I wanted to look at a feature that I was not aware of. I don't know when it came into effect. It's called Exclude Effect. Okay, I had never seen it before until like last week. Started playing with it. It's super cool. Not sure when it was put into iClone. Maybe back all the way in 8.0. Although I never saw it. Heard anybody talk about it in the forums. I did find some mention of it in the manual. But I just want to go over it today, take a look at it, show you some applications that I think are pretty neat. Maybe it can get your creative juices flowing, make you think a little differently about some of the visual effects that you have going, because it's possible to do some neat things inside of iClone itself, which maybe previously you would have had to have done multiple renders and put them together in a video software, in video editing software. Okay, so that's a lot to say, but if you go into your Modify panel, at the very bottom of the Modify panel you have something called Exclude Effect. On the left, you select the object where you will be taking the effect away, and on the right, it's what effects can you remove. It goes through everything from AO, IBL, toon, your toon shader, HDR, tone mapping, GI, lighting, fog, post effects, which include loots, and then you got your lights and your shadows, which this is very cool. It could go all the way from one character or multiple characters all the way down to, you know, something that has texture in the character. Maybe it's the eyeglasses on the character. Also props are available. Okay, so I'm going to show you three applications. Like I said, a long time ago I was fascinated with the silhouette effect that you can get. So I'm going to go through the silhouette effect, and then we'll use Exclude Effect to do something I wanted to do for a long time, but haven't been able to, or I wasn't willing to do the multiple renders and put them together using chroma key. Okay, that's a long explanation, but let's just go ahead and add in a character so that we can show what I'm talking about. Character I'm going to add is going to be a custom guy. I got a bunch of hobos for a project I've been working on. So here's my character. I want to put him in twice because essentially what I'm doing, I want to create a shadow for that character, and that shadow is going to be done by a second character. Originally, I tried to just copy out the character. You know, when you hit Control and then you grab by the gizmo, creates a second character. However, because we've created it from the first character, all of the textures are linked. Linked textures are not going to work here. Anything that affects the one will affect the other. So we're going to delete that out. We're going to add in the same character twice. Now the textures are not linked. Okay. Now the silhouette effect that I'm talking about, if we go, I'm just going to change my background color to white because it makes for a nicer effect. And then if you go into your lighting and you turn them all off, we're going to turn them off here. He's still showing up. The reason that you can still see him is because he has the HDR, I'm sorry, the IBL. Activate image-based lighting is in effect. Turn that off, and now he's completely black. And if it's not completely black for you, the reason is you go into your ambient lighting, and that has to be turned all the way to black. Sometimes it's like a little bit off of the black, and you can see here. You can see parts of him. If you turn it all the way to black, now he is essentially a shadow. And I thought, oh, you know what would be cool? Why don't I set up a scene where you have a character sitting in a chair and his shadow behind him reaches forward and strangles him, or the shadow comes alive. But to do that, we would have to separate the lighting for multiple characters, and that's very difficult to do before I discovered the Exclude Effect, right? Using this Exclude Effect, we go back. Let's turn on. I'm gonna undo all the way back till we get back to our original lighting. There we go. I'm gonna go back and turn the background again. And now what I'm going to do, this is just regular old lighting sitting on this character, and we're gonna go into Modify panel all the way to the bottom, Exclude Effect. I'm going to select the second character. Could select either one, doesn't matter. Here you see the character. If I wanted to do this just to certain parts of him, all of the parts of that character, all the parts with textures on him are available, but I want the whole character. Now I'm going to go into the lighting, and I'm going to turn off all of the lights. But he's still showing up because the IBL, image-based lighting, is in effect. That's under the effects. We go into the IBL, and boom, now I have a character and a shadow character, the same character, right? I played around with this today, getting ready to do this little tip or tutorial, whatever you want to call it. And in about 5 minutes, I was able to do something that, not amazing, but to get the general idea. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that project to show you that project. Give me half a second, and okay. Here is the project that I worked on today. It took me, like I said, it was literally about 5 minutes. I did what I showed you before. 2 characters in the project. I used this lighting, turned off all the lighting on the second character to make him a shadow, and then I just basically arranged him in a certain way so that it would look kind of like the character, and then I added the motions to both characters. So it looks like it's a shadow a little bit. It's not perfect. You could play with it some more, get something that maybe looks a little bit better, and then about halfway as we get through here, he's still playing as it's the shadow, and there he goes. What? Oh, hey, what's going on there? All right, when the guy's a little freaked out, his shadow just walking off. Hey, what's going on, Chief? Pretty cool. Something I'd wanted to do for a long time and had not had the wherewithal to do it. Using this exclude effect, it's a pretty simple process, and I can show you if we turn on the auxiliary lighting, you can see exactly what I did here, right? So there he is. He's actually, I just placed him at an angle, used it as the shadow, and then set it up so that he comes out. Very simple. Like I said, 5 minutes, and I was able to create something like that using this exclude effect. So that's one application where I think it comes in handy. Another application, if we go and we look, one of those things under the effect was toon shader. I know most people have, once upon a time, we've all clicked on that toon shader and thought, how do I get this to look cool, to look like a cartoon, or to look like a comic book? So I'm going to open up another project which I found I could get a pretty cool effect using the toon shader and then excluding the effect from the main characters, okay? Something that looks like it's maybe a comic book where the characters are then popping out of the comic book itself. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new project that I worked on a long time ago. All right, let me open that up. Okay. This is a scene from a project that I was working on last year called Gunderson, an Xmas noir. The scene is set in a bar called Sugar Plums, and we set the scene. Gunderson walks in, and he's having a conversation with Anna, the automaton. Very colorful, great scene. I enjoyed the scene a lot. A lot of setup here. But playing around with it last week, I realized that when I use the toon shader, it has a pretty cool effect. So let's take a look at it real quick. I go down to my visual tab and I slide over. You've got your lighting, and then here's the toon shader tab. I click it and everything is very flat, but it works out pretty well just based on the textures that are used here. It looks a bit like a comic book, the problem being that the characters themselves are incredibly flat. So I said, this could be kind of cool. What if we do this, and then we use exclude effect to remove the toon shading from the 2 main characters, while everything else remains with the toon shading. I go to the Modify tab. I click Exclude Effect. I go into Anna. Anna is the character here, or you can click her in the scene, and you can see she's selected in the Object side. Now I go to the Effect side. I open up Effects. I go down to Tone Map. I go down to Toon Shader. And boom, she is popping now, right? And then I click on my Gunderson character, who's the guy right here. It highlights him in the Object side. Again, I go down and I take off, not Tone Map, I go down and I take off Toon. There we go. Okay, so now in the scene, it's kind of like it's a comic book come to life, and the characters are really popping here. Right? Here, especially like that right there. That's something that I could see on a page. And yet it's animated, and it's just a pretty neat effect. And in order to achieve it, all I basically did was turn on the toon shading and then used Exclude Effect, 2 or 3 clicks, to remove it from those characters and have them really pop off the page. So I think this is a pretty cool application when using the toon shader to have some characters that are not having that effect on them, right? And so my third application that I wanted to talk about is another project. I'm going to open up a third project, and it's looking at the fog that's used in a scene when we take the fog away from some characters in order to have those characters pop. So I'm going to open up a third project now. Okay, so I've opened up this new project. This was one I made years ago, I think, probably maybe 2 years ago. It's for a short. Pirate goes into a cave to find his pirate's chest, and I'll just show you quickly. The pirate's chest eats him, right? So there. This is a little, just a very short little. What? Whoa! Hey! I had a prop off of Daz, and so I created this little short. Now, what I'm using in this scene to give the cave a little bit of depth is fog, and the fog kind of doesn't obscure, but the fog kind of mutes the character and the chest a little bit. So what would happen? We leave the fog in the scene to give the cave, that effect, but we remove the fog from both the character and the chest using this Exclude Effect. So here, as I said, here we have the scene itself. Everything's in fog. Cool scene. Let's go back. Let's go into our Modify panel. I go down to Exclude Effect. I'm going to grab my pirate here. He is CC base 3. We go into Effect. We go down to Fog. And see that? Look how much more, he really pops there. Then I go to the chest. Chest R, same deal. 2 clicks. And it really, you leave the fog, which gives volume to the cave, but now my character and my chest pop out of the scene a little bit, right? They're a little more vivid, which was what I was going for here. And so, like I said, 2 or 3 clicks using this Exclude Effect, you can get some pretty cool results. So there you go. 3 applications using this feature called Exclude Effect, which I wasn't aware of. Maybe you are aware. Maybe not. Hopefully this might free up some visual ideas for you, things you can do with previous projects, things you can do in the future. Good luck to you, and happy filming, and we're going to keep it short today. All right, take care.